back to the Creative Juggle Joy podcast, everybody. I'm Canadian artist and educator Delores, and today I'm joined again by my friend Vanessa from Art Business with Ness.
Hi.
Vanessa is represented by Pink Light Studios. That's something you should look up because there's some really great artists there. She's created licensed art for retailers like Hobby Lobby, and she also runs her art business boot camp, where she teaches illustrators how to land clients and license their art. If you're part of my 5 cards in 5 days challenge this fall, you'll also get to hear from her live. She's going to be a special guest for the VIP session on day 4, September 25th at 2 p.m. But today we are pulling back the curtain right here to talk about how art licensing really works, what it is, what agents do, and how you can start moving in that direction.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's start really simple, Ness. For anyone that's brand new to this idea, what is art licensing in a nutshell?
Yes, so when you see a product in the store, when you see a greeting card at the drugstore, for example, these companies that create these cards, they have all of their manufacturing going on, they have all their marketing going on, and they need art. They need your art. So they contact artists, or sometimes artists contact them, and it's a collaboration. Art licensing basically means that you are renting your artwork to them and the copyrights, the rights to distribute your art commercially and make money from it. And of course, in exchange for that, they're going to compensate you.
Right?
And that's what it is in a nutshell. We can sell our art outright. We often call that a buyout. And then it just belongs to them and they can do whatever they want. But art licensing, you retain the rights to your work, but they can use it and they send you money.
That's so cool. I like the sending the money part. That's the great part.
It's really cool.
Yeah. So you work for an agency. So what is it like working for Pink Light Studios? I looked at the artists there. I know a couple of them, as a matter of fact. Taylor Shannon is somebody that I've been in groups with. What a lovely girl. Can you share how does it work? Like what is the relationship? How does it look and what kind of output do they expect? Like is it a lot? Is it doable?
hmm So working for them is the best thing. I say working for them, technically it's a collaboration. It's a very symbiotic relationship. They need a lot of art and we need them because they sell our art so that we can focus on drawing and not marketing. So before I was with them, I would do all of the pitching myself. And since I'm also a teacher, I don't have unlimited time.
Yeah.
So now, yeah, it really frees up a lot. I just create the art, I sell it, send it to my agency, and then they market it. And they do a lot. They send newsletters, they take requests from their clients. So they may have American Greetings come to them. I think we just had one this week. American Greeting is like, okay, we're starting several Christmas projects. We're going to need, religious icons. We're going to need snow globes. We're going to need this, this, and that. And so they give us the list and we can create stuff for that. But they also can go into the gallery of everything that we've sent them in the past. And they take whatever fits the bill of what the client is looking for, they send it to them. They also attend trade shows where they go and market our work. And that's the part that I really, really am thankful for because I'm
Right.
also a Canadian artist. Going to the United States for a trade show, that would cost me a pretty penny.
Hmm.
These are famously expensive to attend. And so they go there on my behalf and they sell my work there and I'm eternally grateful. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a really fun collaboration. I've been with other agents in the past and it's really clicking with Pink Light. It's a team of all women. All the artists are women, all the staff is women, and we all just get really excited about the cute pink art and all the fun trends and it's just very, very fun.
I noticed that there's definitely a real look to the kind of work that they have. I mean, there's a range, but there's definitely, it's like you could recognize that it's from their studio. So that's pretty cool considering that there's so many
Mm-hmm.
artists, because there's got to be 20 or more artists or 30 artists. How many do you know?
Yeah, there's about 40
Oh,
of us.
wow,
But
that's
yes,
amazing.
and this happens in every agency. Every agency tends to have a look, and that's a bias just because the agents have their own personal taste. So
Correct.
the agents sign artists that they like, and it tends to have kind of a through line. For us, we're really good at the feminine trends, all the pink. I mean, the studio is called Pink Light Studio. We do that very well. Cute pets all day, every day, cute cakes, fun frills and bows and stuff like that. But every once in a while, we get a call for like sports, and then no one takes it. It's not our specialty.
That's hilarious. Well, something you've been really open about is that an agent isn't a magic solution. I personally have worked with two agents. I had better success with one of them because I think he was more aligned with the type of work I was doing at the time. And this is so different, like I said, than what I'm doing now because I'm doing a lot of surface pattern design work and lots of illustration work. And at the time, I was doing really large abstract all art wall pieces. So we're talking the kind of things that you would see in a hotel if you went in, and they used to have
Hmm.
like every room would have sort of a certain look with the art. That's the kind of stuff that I used to do. Agencies often want to see that you've also landed deals. So when can you explain that the whole thing? Like you and I talked about this briefly the other day when you saw my card aisle statistics and the sales that I've had, the fact that I have social
You
proof.
have, yes, you have street cred.
Street cred. What can you explain that a little bit to our viewers or listeners? Because I know that some people are just starting out and some people have multiple years of experience behind them. And I would love for you to just explain, your sort of view on it. What's the
Hmm.
difference between having an agent or having somebody pitch their own work? What would you advise?
Well, I would advise to do both. At first, people are like, oh, should I contact agencies? Should I contact publishers or companies? Try both. Contact everyone and see who bites.
Right.
At first, a lot of us, we want to work with agents because they sound wonderful. They do all of the dirty work that we don't want to do. And it sounds absolutely amazing, especially because pitching can be kind of scary when we're just starting out. We're like, who am I to contact a big company and offer them my art? It can be super scary. We're afraid of being rejected or even just ignored can really hurt.
Mhm.
And so the idea of an agency doing that for us, that sounds like the perfect solution. But when something sounds too good to be true like that, there's always a catch. And the catch is every artist in the world would love to have an agency. There's only so many spots. It's very competitive to get in. And because of that, it's a little bit counterintuitive, but it's easier to get deals by yourself than getting into an agency because there are not that many spots. And you can imagine once you have a spot in agency, you want to stay there. So there
Right.
are not that many spots opening up. It's also more and more competitive, even since I got into it, because the cat is kind of out of the bag. Agencies used to be not something that we really knew about a whole lot. Imagine just like a couple decades ago, agencies, the average artist just didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
And they used to take a lot of artists that had potential and teach them how to do it. Now they have one spot every 6 months and they have like 3,000 portfolios. They have the luxury of picking the best artists. Not only that, even if you, from those 3,000s, you take out everyone that is not quite as good, you still have like 500 top rated artists. So,
Right.
what is the deciding factor? You still have to choose, right? So, people who have any kind of experience, people who have sold in the past, that's a safe bet. They
Right.
know that you've had deals before, you're probably going to continue to have deals in the future. That's a much safer bet. Have been pitching to Pink Light Studio for several years. And at first, I didn't sound like such a good prospect for them. I was like, hey, I'm coming out of nowhere. Here's my art. But the last time, after a few years, I was like, I've worked with Hobby Lobby. I've worked with RSVP. I've worked with Scholastic. I've had all these deals. And then they were like, okay, okay, let's talk.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially Hobby Lobby, because that's one of their big clients. So they know, oh, you sell with one of our clients. That's going to work.
Right. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So when let's talk a little bit about your boot camp here because, now as you're talking about this, I'm thinking the way my students would think too is that in your boot camp, do you help people then build their portfolios and help them to pitch themselves? Like, do you have an example of someone who's been able to get a contract without an agent? And how has that boosted their confidence? Like, I'm really wanting to give my students and anybody listening here hope.
There's absolutely hope. And I've had lots of students who have gotten deals by themselves, also students who have gotten an agent within a year. The program is 12 months. And I have several people who have managed to sign within that period of time, which I'm like, dang, you're knocking it out of the park. It took me longer than that. So you're doing really well. But at first, yes, I teach people how to put together a very professional looking portfolio, something that will show companies and agents that you have experience, even if you don't think you have experience. You can still spin it, present
Right.
yourself in a way. Yes, and it's always the artists that say, I have absolutely no experience, and you chat with them a little bit, come to find out they've been drawing for 30 years. That's experience, you can spin that.
Right.
So I help you present yourself in a way that says, I know what I'm doing. And then I teach you how to pitch to companies, how to talk with them, how to follow up, all of this stuff in order to get contracts. So a couple of examples. I think one of the fastest ones that got a contract this year was Heather. Just a few weeks after she started sending emails, she got a big deal with Stupel. That's a wall art company. And she's a watercolor artist and she licensed, I think, 12 or 14 designs
Wow.
with them. So they decimated her portfolio. They was like, we're going to take all of these. But the funny thing is, around the same time, I also got a deal with the same company, Stupel, through my agent. But because it was through my agency, I had to give them 50% commission. But
Oh,
Heather, she got to keep it all. She got a better deal than I did.
fantastic. I mean, not fantastic that you lost, but I get it. I mean, you have to look at, I guess, the bigger picture then. You may have lost 50%, but you've got other things on the go. So maybe it works out. I don't know.
It's definitely, there are advantages to doing it just yourself. You get to keep all the money. But there are also advantages to working with an agency because it gives you back some of your time. So you can focus on maybe the parts of the job that you prefer doing, like the drawing part. So it all equals out at the end. And another example I want to give you is Yuhan, one of my students. She started the bootcamp literally from zero. She did not know how to make patterns. She didn't know she wanted to be a surface designer. She just had watercolor artworks, and I helped her pick her market. She learned how to make patterns. She built her portfolio from absolutely nothing. And then she started pitching. And for some students, it happens right away. Other students, it takes a little bit longer. It's really, there's a matter of timing, of what the company is looking for. Sometimes in the beginning, it can take a few trial and error before you find companies that are really well suited to your style also.
Right.
For her, it didn't happen right away. She was in there 2 months, 3 months. She was sending emails and she started getting antsy. She was like, Ness, I'm sending emails. It's not working. Can I start Etsy or I'm going to go try that. I'm going to try POD. She was just itching to go do something else. She was like, this isn't working. I need to change my tune. And I told her, your art is wonderful. You have the technique, you have the strategy. Just keep at it, and it's going to happen for you. And a few weeks later, she got her first deal, her
Yay.
first licensing deal, and it's going to be a recurring thing. The company, they really love her work, and they licensed the first batch, and they said, every month, every time you have something new, you can send us your stuff, and we're going to pick stuff out.
That's
And then the
great.
month the month after that, she got an agency.
What? That's great news. Oh, I love
Yeah, so
hearing that.
she had been pitching to agencies from the beginning, but just being able to then be like, hey, I had this deal that I made, suddenly it made her a lot more attractive to
Yeah.
agencies. Her work was wonderful, and it was just a little missing piece.
Yeah,
They
validation, validation
exactly.
for the company to be able to say, okay, like we had a feeling about her, but now we know for sure. So that's so great.
Yes.
You touched on something there too, and it was, like about the companies coming back to you and asking each month to have some work. And I'm a little confused about that. And students do always ask me about that. When I was working for Russ, there were specific, usually 5 or 6 calls of the year that I would have to produce stuff. So, there'd be like the everyday line, and then there would be sort of specific for him, specific for her. But I guess every agency must be different. So, what can you tell them about the output? How much art do you really need to make if you want a license? Like, it's so much? Is it, like scary, or is the workload quite manageable?
So if you're pitching by yourself, you have complete control. You can make however much you want. If you make one card a month and then pitch it to your list of company every month, that's a great way to do it. I usually made like a whole collection every month and I'd pitch it. I had a nice little routine going on. My collections were about 6 or 8 designs. So I'd make one collection, pitch it, one collection, pitch it, one collection, pitch it, month after month. So this was my routine and it worked really well for me. In an agency, of course, the more work you produce, the more sales they can make, especially for those categories that they sell it as fast as we make it. So you can never make too many birthday cakes. They'll sell them and then they want more. They have a minimum of 12 a month. It's not really enforced. If you go on vacation and you miss that's fine. You can make a little more the next month. If you're sick, it's not super strict, but on average, if at the end of the year you're gonna have made about 12 a month, and you can make more, of course. I know that 12 sounds like a lot. You do get faster with practice. You really get into a rhythm, especially because they take all the pitching and marketing off of your plate. That gives you
Right,
more time. And it's not also 12 complex illustrations or designs every time, because in collections, you'll also have blenders, things that go with, things that match, stripes, polka dots, plaids,
right.
things like that. I can make 4 of these a day.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a bigger like card illustration that will take me 3 days to make. It all kind of averages out. I think last month we had the big Hobby Lobby submission call. That's twice a year. Every company does it differently. You talked about this a little bit earlier. Some companies they have 4 or 6, or some companies they're just like send us everything every month. Others have a system. Hobby Lobby they do twice a year and they buy like 40,000 things at once. It's crazy.
What?
It's a big event for all the agencies that work with Hobby Lobby. It's a big thing.
Sure.
So last month I created 36 new designs just for them
Wow.
in one month. So I did, work a bit more hours than I usually do. I usually hit my 12 target pretty easily and spend the rest of my time on teaching. Last month, I really just put it all into this. I just got my results yesterday. I sold 23 out of the 36.
Yay. High
So it
five.
was all worth. Yeah, I mean I made like $7 or $8,000 after my commission
Wow.
in one month. So that if someone is curious, that's the kind of money you can make.
That's so, oh wow. That's just gives us so much hope, like really. So let me just break this down a little bit. So when you're giving a collection, I think I've seen a few of your sell sheets, and you'll have like sort of a placement print or a single illustration. And then beside that, you usually put 2 or 3 different coordinating patterns. Is that the way you normally do it? Okay. And you usually do
Yep.
watercolor, right?
Actually, these days I do more of a like flat style on Procreate. I discovered these like chalk-like brushes that I really like. And I've started using those a lot more. Sometimes I do the kind of a digital watercolor look, but lately I've been really into these chalk kind of brushes. But, those are little differences. I know people always hear that you have to have a consistent style, and yes, that's a thing, but whether I use watercolor brushes or chalk brushes, my drawing still looks, it's still me drawing it. It still looks like I did it. And that's what's important. It's the vibe. You can still have a bit of range in your style, but I'm getting off topic there. Sorry about that.
It's perfect because, what you're talking about too really feeds into this next question because you're developing work. And so for people who are just starting out, who have not actually landed a deal or haven't started pitching, they're working on their portfolio. So if we think about it in these terms, in the way that Vanessa's describing them, we're basically doing the same thing, but we're creating it for our portfolio at this point. If we are ready to start pitching or curious or just want to explore that a little bit. So once you do have a body of work, this is one of the things I remember my agent saying. He was always happy to have me refer students and artists that I knew as long as they had a substantial body of work. So that was one of the things he always said.
Mhm.
But once you've got that portfolio, Vanessa, what is the next step? How do you start identifying the companies that you want to pitch to? Explain that a little bit for us.
Yeah, so very quickly, I'll answer the question that you asked before that I didn't answer when I went on a
Sorry.
tangent. I usually start with the greeting card ideas. So let's say I make three greeting cards, and then I'll make a coordinating pattern to go with each one. And they end up selling for all sorts of things, not always just greeting cards. I sell a lot of gift bags, journals, wall art, puzzles, things like that. Illustrations can work for many different things. And then the patterns can go on wrapping paper, fabrics, wallpaper. So when you have a mix of illustrations and simple coordinating patterns, it makes for a very flexible collection that can be used for many different things. Then moving on to your question
About portfolio.
about portfolios. When you start pitching by yourself, you don't need a big number. I always say 12 is a great number to start with, just as samples to show what you can do. And
Mhm.
if you don't have exactly what they need, you can create something for them custom. So it's not really a problem. As long as you have 12, just to show them what your style is, what your skill level is, and all of that. However, you do need eventually to build up like a big catalog, a body of work, especially if you want to sign with an agency. Because if you pitch to an agency, you have 10 designs. They're like, I'm gonna sell this in a month and then I'm gonna have nothing else, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I think I heard somewhere that they want you to have at least like 50 or 60 starting with. And the more you have, I mean, the better for them. In my case, it was actually a pretty unique case because Pink Light Studio was my dream agency, but before that, I was with another agency. And it I was doing sales great there, but it was kind of not a good fit in terms of like personality and working methods. Sometimes agents aren't a good fit, you know. So I left that agency and I was accepted in Pink Light Studio. All of my art was still remaining with that other agency for another 6 months. And so Pink Light Studio told me, actually, we don't want any of that art. We don't know who she's shown it to. It's not exclusive anymore. So we'll sign you with basically nothing, no back catalog. Start drawing.
Go for it.
Yeah, I started with zero, which usually agencies want you to have at least 50 or 60 things to start with so they can have stuff to show people, you know. So
Right.
those first few months I was like, let's do this. Then draw.
That's different. That's a different story than I've heard from a lot of people.
So then just starting out, if you have a few pieces of artwork, I said 12 is good to get started, then you start pitching. That's your first step. Take some samples. Collections is best because even if it's just collections of three. So if you have like four mini collections of three to start pitching with, that's perfect. Then you can find some companies that you want to work with and you email them with these samples. And there's really no like really strict method or methodology to go through. I think that scares a lot of people that there's no like official submission process and three-step interview or anything. You have to create your own opportunity. You find the company, you find their email address. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of digging. I've called the company sometimes. I was like, "Hey, I can't find where I should submit my portfolio." And then the secretary tell me where I can send it. And then you just email them with your stuff and hope for the best. And that's the first step.
Cool. And then do you then keep sort of list or like how do you just stay organized, I guess would be my next question about that. I've been setting up my document on Airtable, and I know you use Airtable too, so I'd like to hear a
Yes.
little bit more about it. I'm, like I said, just getting it all set up because my daughter's going to help me with pitching. So I would love to hear what exactly you do. What do you set up in your Airtable document?
Yes, I love Airtable so much. I'm a big Airtable nerd. It's easy to use. It's like a spreadsheet, but you have so much control over everything. You can move columns around, you can change things, and it's free.
It's free, I know.
I love
Uh,
it so much. So I have my company database in there. And so what I like to do whenever I'm out and about and I see products with cute illustrations on them, then you know, oh, there's a drawing on this. They had to hire an artist to do that. So they do work with artists. Okay. So I take a photo of the tag. Whenever I'm out, my husband is like, can we go? I'm just photographing all the products. And then I get home and I put in all of those companies in my Airtable. I sometimes don't do the research right away. It depends if I have time or not, but I just put all the companies in my Airtable. Then maybe a little bit later when I have time, I'll Google the company, try to see if I can find the contact information. Sometimes they have submission information, they might say we're looking for Christmas around that time of year or that's great information. I write it in my database and then so it kind of fills itself over time. I have hundreds and hundreds of companies in there. I find this more approachable than sitting down and doing this for 2 weeks straight. That would just drive me crazy. So I just add to it a little bit over time. Yeah.
Right. And then as you pitch, you just keep track of when you've pitched or who you've pitched to, and then responses or whatever that you get
Yes.
back.
I have a separate Airtable for that. So it's a Kanban view, so I can put companies in, the ones that I still haven't reached out to, the ones that I have reached out to, the ones that are due for a follow-up, the ones that are on my warm-up sequence
Right.
that I like to call. I mean, that's more of a email marketing term. It's a bit different with pitching, but the ones that maybe I've worked with in the past, but I still need to email them every once in a while to remind them I exist.
Right.
So I'll separate it in categories like that. And with surface design, it's really easy because we create new work all the time. So even companies that we've contacted in the past, every time you have a new collection, you hit them up again, show them your new work, maybe they'll buy it.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's important, I think, to find companies that you think you can vibe with for sure. I love
Yes.
how approachable you've made this, Nest. Like just talking it over with you makes everything so much clearer in my mind, and I hope that is the same for the listeners.
So
You take something that normally feels so overwhelming and you show artists that it's really possible. I love that. And if you ever want to go deeper, all of you listeners out there, Vanessa's Art Business Boot Camp opens again September the 1st. And she's also hosting a free masterclass on September 2nd about starting a freelance illustration career. And of course, if you
yes.
want a smaller first step, the 5 cards in 5 days challenge is happening September 22nd. That's our first day. It's a fun and creative way to design new cards. And now that I'm saying design new cards, I'm thinking design new cards and little mini collections. And if you grab the VIP Creators Pack, you'll also get Vanessa's live session on art licensing and all the goodies that I'm putting together to help you make
Hmm.
those first sets of cards and make those initial artworks a lot more easily. Ness,
Yes.
thank you again. It's always such a joy to talk with you.
Thank you for having me and for hosting this challenge. I can't wait. I'll be in there creating cards with all of you, and we're gonna have a blast.
Well, keep creating, keep juggling, and most importantly, keep finding joy in the process.